Hello and welcome to this exploring session, and today we are looking at a lamentable tragedy mixed full of pleasant mirth containing the life of Cambyses, king of Persia. That's written by Thomas Preston sometime around 1561. It's actually one of the earlier plays that we're doing in these afternoon sessions, and it's going to be interesting to see how this fares in comparison with some of the later plays that we've been doing once playhouses have been established. This is from within the first few years of the reign of Queen Elizabeth. There's plenty of theatre going on, but not quite in the way that we will know it a little later on in time. But to work through this particular play, we have a team of, in theory, 8 people, and in fact I do see 8 people on my screen in front of me. Unfortunately I'm one of them. We should actually have 9, but hopefully we'll have a latecomer joining us a little later on. I mention the importance of 8 people because the printing of this, about 10 years after it was first produced, comes with a division of parts so that 8 people may play it. And I have been waiting for a similar suitable opportunity to do this with 8 people to see how well the doubling works, or at least find out how accurate it could possibly be. There are a few interesting problems and party quirks with it, but we're just going to throw it out there and see what happens. So today, reading the parts of Meretrix, Shame, Otian, and Mother is...
Hi, I'm Veronica, and I'm based in London.
Reading the part today of Prologue and Sisamnes, I will decide later, is...
Sarah. I'm an actor, writer, and director living in Germany.
Reading the parts of Lord, singular, Ruff, Common's Cry and Common's Complaint is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good and I'm a historian.
Reading the part of Counselor, Huff and Praxaspes is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm also an actor. I'm usually based in London, but currently also in Germany.
Playing the part he was born to play, a young child, is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott. I'm not a professional actor.
Playing the part of Knight, Snuff, Small Hability, Proof and Execution, and sometimes in very, very short order, is...
Hi, I'm Valentina and I'm an actor and voiceover artist based in London.
And playing the titular figure himself, Cambyses, is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
And unless we have a latecomer arrival, I'm Robert Crighton, and today I'll be reading Ambidexter and Trial, but hopefully someone will come swooping in to save everyone from my sight reading this text. So, without further ado, let us go into the play, and it opens with a prologue. So, Sarah, go prologue.
Agathon, he whose counsel wise to princes' weal extended, by good advice unto a prince, 3 things he hath commended. First is, that he hath government, and ruleth over men. Secondly, to rule with laws, eke justice, saith he then. Thirdly, that he must well conceive, he may not always reign. Lo, thus the rule unto a prince Agathon squared plain. Tully the wise, whose sapience in volumes great doth tell, who in wisdom in that time did many men excel, a prince, saith he, is of himself a plain and speaking law. The law a schoolmaster divine, this by his rule I draw. The sage and witty Seneca his words thereto did frame. The honest exercise of kings, men will ensue the same. But contrariwise, if that a king abuse his kingly seat, his ignominy and bitter shame in fine shall be more great. In Persia there reigned a king, whose Cyrus hight by name, who did deserve, as I do read, the lasting blast of fame. But he, when sisters 3 had brought to shear his vital thread, as heir due to take the crown, Cambyses did proceed, He in his youth was trained up by trace of virtue's law, yet being king, did clean forget his perfect race before. Then cleaving more unto his will, such vice did imitate, as one of Icarus his kind, forewarning then did hate. Thinking that none could him dismay, nay, none his facts could see, yet at the last a fall he took, like Icarus to be. Else as the fish, which oft had take the pleasant bait from hook, in safe did spring, and pierce the streams where fisher fast did look, to hoist up from the watery waves unto the dryad land, then scaped, as last by subtle bait come to the fisher's hand. Even so this king Cambyses here, when he had wrought his will, taking delight the innocent his guiltless blood to spill, then mighty Jove would not permit to prosecute offence, but what measure the king did meet. This same did Jove commence, to bring to end with shame his race. 2 years he did not reign. His cruelty we will dilate, and make the matter plain, craving that this may suffice now, your patience to win. I take my way. Behold, I see the players coming in.
And indeed, it's very clearly this is one of those. Let me tell you the plot prologues there. No doubt as to what's happening or the moral that is being told here. And it's a good demonstration of the difficulty of the way the verse is structured, of actually trying not to get trapped in the rhythm. Because
I did my best. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's very hard to resist.
It sucks you in, doesn't it? It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite
like
enjoyable.
You're just like, oh, I'm on this train. It's lovely. It's lovely to read.
Conversational, actually. Weirdly, despite its artificiality, it felt. I was listening.
It was fun to read, but like I just felt like I was on a runaway train, and I was like, oh, I can't get off this. And every time I tried, it just. Yeah, I didn't work. But anyway.
Maybe we can't. Dan, do you have a thought there?
I'm always fascinated by that, especially now that I live in France. When I first moved to France, listening to 17th, 18th century plays all in verse, it used to bother me at first, but it just seems to work over there when you play the verse line. But in English, oh my gosh, yeah. You just get trapped and then all of a sudden you want to fall asleep because it's like a lullaby almost.
Yeah.
Which for a prologue, actually, I kind of felt it works. I mean, it's going to be a question of what happens when we try and do dialogue and see how that flows. Okay, I don't want to get too bogged down. Let's get into some action, shall we? So the prologue's told us, behold, the players are coming in. So enter first enter Cambyses, the king, knight and counsellor.
My counsel, grave and sapient with lords of legal train, attentive ears towards bend and mark what shall be sane. So you likewise, my valiant knight, whose manly axe doth fly by brutes of fame, the sounding trump doth pierce the azure sky. My sapient words, I say, perpend, and so your skill dilate. You know that Moors vanquished hath Cyrus, that king of state, and I, by Jew inheritance, possess that princely crown, ruling by sword of mighty force in place of great renown. You know, and often have heard tell, my father's worthy facts, a manly Mars's heart he bare, appearing by his axe. And what? Shall I to ground let fall my father's golden praise? No. I mean for to attempt this fame more large to raise, and that I, his son, succeed his kingly seat as Jew. Extend your counsel unto me, and that I ask of you. I am the king of Persia, a large and fertile soil. The Egyptians against us repugn as varlet, slave, and vile. Therefore, I mean with Mars's heart, with wars, them to frequent them, to subdue as captives mine. This is my heart's intent. So shall I win honor's delight, and praise of me shall go. My counsel, speak, and lording Zeke, is not best do so?
Oh, puissant king, your blissful words deserves abundant praise, that you in this do go about your father's fame to raise. O blissful day, that king so young such profit should conceive his father's praise, and his to win from those that would deceive. Jesus, sorry. Sure, my true and sovereign king, I fall before your press to answer to give as duty mine in that your grace request. If that your heart addicted be, the Egyptians to convince through Mars's aid, the conquest won, then deed of happy prince shall pierce the skies unto the throne of the supernal seat, and merit there a just reward of Jupiter the Great. But then your grace must not turn back from this pretensed will, for to proceed in virtuous life, employ endeavours, still extinguish vice, and in that cup to drink have no delight to martial feats and kingly sports, fix all your whole delight.
My counsel, grave, 1,000 thanks. With heart I do you render, that you my case so prosperous entirely do tender. I will not swerve from those your steps, whereto you would me train. But now, my lord and valiant knight, with words give answer plain. Are you content with me to go the Mars's games to try?
Yea, peerless prince, to aid your grace myself will live and die.
And I, for my ability, for fear will not turn back, but as the ship against the rocks, sustain and bide the wreck.
Oh, willing hearts, 1,000 thanks I render unto you. Strike up your drums with courage great. We will march forth even now.
Permit, O king, few words to hear. My duty serves no less. Therefore give leave to counsel thine his mind for to express.
Speak on, my counsel, what it be? You shall have favour mine.
Then I will speak unto your grace. As duty doth me bind, your grace doth mean for to attempt of war the manly art. Your grace therein may hap receive with others for your part the dent of death. In those affairs all persons are alike. The heart courageous oftentimes his detriment doth seek. It's best therefore for to permit a ruler of your land to sit and judge with equity when things of right are scanned.
My grace doth yield to this your talk. To be thus now it shall. My knight, therefore prepare yourself, Sisamnes for to call. A judge he is of prudent skill, even he shall bear the sway. In absence mine, when from the land I do depart my way.
Your knight before your grace even here himself hath ready pressed, with willing heart for to fulfill as your grace made request.
And exit the knight.
Pleaseth your grace, I judge of him to be a man right fit, for he is learned in the law, having the gift of wit. In your grace's precinct I do not view for a meet a man. His learning is of good effect, bring proof thereof I can. I do not know what is his life, his conscience hid from me. I doubt not but the fear of God before his eyes to be.
Report declares he is a man that to himself is nigh, one that favoureth much the world, and too much sets thereby. But this I say of certainty, if he your grace succeed, in your absence but for a while, he will be warned indeed. No injustice for to frequent, no partial judge to prove, but rule all things with equity to win your grace's love.
Of that, he shall a warning have, my hest for to obey. Great punishment for his offense against him will I lay.
Oh, behold, I see him now aggress and enter into place.
Oh, puissant prince and mighty king, the gods preserve your grace. Your grace's message came to me, your will purporting forth. With grateful mind I it received, according to my oath. Erecting then myself with speed before your grace's eyes, the tenor of your princely will from you to agnize. Or to agnize.
Sisamnes, this the whole effect, the which for you I sent. Our mind it is to elevate you to great preferment. My grace and gracious counsel eke hath chose you for this cause. In judgment you do office bear, which have the skill in laws. We think that you accordingly by justice rule will deal, that for offense none shall have cause of wrong you to appeal.
Abundant thanks unto your grace for this benignity. To you his counsel in like case with lords of clemency. Whatso your grace to me permits, if I therein offend, such execution then commence, and use it to this end, that all other, by that my deed, example so may take, to admonish them to flee the same, by fear it may them make.
Then, according to your word, if you therein offend, I assure you, even from my breast, correction shall extend. From Persia, I mean to go into the Egypt land, them to convince by force of arms and win the upper hand. While I therefore absent shall be, I do you full permit, as governor in this my right, in that estate to sit, for to detect and eke correct those that abuse my grace. This is the total of my will. Give answer in this case.
Unworthy much, O prince, am I, and for this gift unfit. But sith that it hath pleased your grace that I in it must sit, I do avouch unto my death, according to my skill, with equity for to observe your grace's mind and will. And naught from it to swerve indeed, but sincerely to stay, else let me taste the penalty, as I before did say.
Well then, of this authority, I give you full possession.
And I will it fulfill also, as I have made profession.
My counsel, then let us depart, a small stay to make, to Egypt land now forth with speed. My voyage I will take. Strike up your drums, us to rejoice, to hear the warlike sound. Stay you here, Sisamnes, judge, and look well to your bound.
And exit the king, lord, counsel, etc.
Even now the king hath me extolled, and set me up aloft. Now may I wear the broidered guard, and lay in down bed soft. Now may I purchase house and land, and have all at my will. Now may I build a princely place, my mind for to fulfill. Now may I abrogate the law, and I shall think it good if any one me now offend. I may demand his blood. According to the proverb old, my mouth I will upmake. Now it doth lie all in my hand to leave, or else to take, to deal with justice to my bound, and so to live in hope. But oftentimes the birds be gone while one for nest doth grope. Do well or ill, I dare avouch some evil on me will speak. No, truly yet I do not mean the king's precepts to break. To place I mean for to return, my duty to fulfill.
And exit Sisamnes. War, what is it good for? Quite a lot, apparently. So it's really interesting listening to everybody sort of playing around with the verse a little bit, and in dialogue it seems to be faring better, actually. You still feel it's still clearly very artificial, but it's sort of flowing along quite nicely. I'm following what's going on. it's all very, you know, it's not. You're not feeling that the plot is advancing at any great pace. However, thoughts about this first scene, as we shall call it.
I felt that, in fact, what you had was an entire stage filled with cut-out people. There was the entire council there, represented by one man who was alive and speaking. The entire House of Lords, represented by one lord who was speaking, and all the knights of the shires in Parliament assembled, represented by one knight who was speaking. And that because the king kept talking as if he was talking to a vast array of councillors and lords and knights, but in fact there was only one of each.
Yeah, it feels like it's really connecting with that sort of almost allegorical past of interlude playing, where someone will represent an aspect, or in this case, a lot of other people. I think that's a good way of thinking about it. Other thoughts about, you know, just playing with the language and you know, in terms of plot, it's not very complicated. Just wants a verdict. Shall we go to war? Yes. Basically, I thought his Sisamnes at the end, that speech. I mean, is you know, what was going on there seemed quite interesting as well, because you know, he's a character with a name as well as Cambyses. I mean, Helen's point, nobody else has a name. They're just figures representing some other figures. Sisamnes, how do you feel about yourself?
Well, he's clearly a bit of a plotter. He's sort of all very, very humble in front of the king, and then savouring the thought of feather beds and palaces now that he's been put in charge. So clearly he's not going to let power go to his head at all. He's going to be very just and even and fair with everybody.
Wouldn't that make a fun play?
Yes, exactly. So yeah. So no, he seemed quite fun. It's funny. I think because I was reading this, you know, blind as it were, sight reading it. I think my urge to try and interrupt the meter sometimes actually worked against the meaning of the text to a degree. I think that you almost get the meaning of the text more if you just go with it, or at least that's what I felt reading it for the first time. I mean, obviously, if you were rehearsing it, you could find those places where you could interrupt it. But I felt on a couple of occasions that places where I thought I'd interrupted it and kind of disrupted the rhythm in order to try and make sense of it. When I then read the next sentence, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I shouldn't have done that. Because it was actually, it does all kind of work when you just go with it.
And it's a matter of trying to give it life and colour without getting trapped in the repetitiveness of it. How Cambyses, as the other named character, how are you feeling?
So I'd actually restored the text to the way that it had been lined because I wanted to see if that would change the effect of my interpretation of it. I also went back and not corrected, but changed all of the punctuation back to what originally was, and found that some of the edits that were done later on were more helpful in terms of getting the meaning out there. But by and large, it's what I think I agree with Sarah in terms of, yeah, it's very well structured in that way that if you try to break off of it too much, I feel like you are going to lose the meaning of it there. And so the trick was always, okay, if it is written in the way, I should say printed in the way that it was, can I stick with that without getting trapped in the meter there? And I found that this is where I found the punctuation that I had, it helped out there.
Other thoughts? Veronica, I see a hand.
I mean, I don't know what it means or what you can do with it, but I find it interesting when other, it happens like 3 times here, when other characters finish off another character's verse to complete the meter. Just because if they only have one line, or yeah. So I don't know if there's room to play with that, or.
Yeah. Potentially. Yes, Helen. Then Tamara.
Sisamnes is going to build a princely palace at more or less the same time as Cecil was really getting stuck into what later became Burley House.
Okay.
I throw that out. It may not mean anything.
It may not mean anything at all, but it's a nice thought. I like that. Okay, Tamara.
I was just going to say, I found it interesting because obviously we've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, so now I'm more practiced in sight reading as I was beforehand. And I found myself really trying to read ahead with my eyes to kind of make sense of the sentence before I said it. I think what I almost like about this as an exercise, as a modern actor, is that it gives me that discipline that I have to read ahead, that I have to have the thought in my head before I actually get to reading it out loud, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I struggled with it, and I think I will continue to struggle with it. But it requires a sort of fascinating discipline to read this, make sense of it, and not get trapped in the rhythm to the point that you lose the sense of what you're saying, I think.
Any other thoughts before we move forward? Okay, Alan, could I ask you to read the stage directions for me from now on? Because I'll be taking on Ambidexter, so
Okay.
We'll see how this goes. This should be interesting.
Apologies if there are interruptions, because my screen keeps flashing up saying my internet's becoming unstable.
Okie dokie.
So it matches the user. Enter the vice with an old cap case on his head, an old pail about his hips for harness, a scummer and a pot lid by his side, and a rake on his shoulder.
Stand away for the passion of God. Harnessed I am, prepared to the field. I would have been content at home to have bod, but I am sent forth with my spear and shield. I am appointed to fight against a snail, and Wilkin Wren the ancient shall bear, I doubt not, but against him to prevail, to be a man my deed shall declare. If I overcome him, then a butterfly takes his part. His weapon must be a blue speckled hen, but you shall see me overthrow him with a fart. So without conquest he shall go home again. If I overcome him, I must fight with a fly, and a black pudding the fly's weapon must be. At the first blow on the ground he shall lie. I will be sure to thrust him through the mouth to the knee. To conquest these fellows, the man I will play. Now you will make me to smile, to see if I can all men beguile. Huh? Huh? Oh, my name, would you so fain know? Would you? Anybody out there want to know?
Yeah!
Yay! Fit a wish shall ye, and that with all speed. I have forgot it, therefore I cannot show. Now I have it indeed. My name is Ambidexter. I signify one that with both hands finally can play. Now with King Cambyses, and by and by gone. Thus do I run this way and that way. For while I mean with a soldier to be, then give I a leap to Sisamnes the judge. I dare avouch, ye shall his destruction see. To all kind of estates I mean for to trudge. Ambidexter, nay, he is a fellow, if ye knew all. Cease for a while. Hereafter, hear more ye shall.
Enter 3 ruffians, Huff, Ruff, and Snuff, singing.
I'm not going to sing.
Do not sing, that's fine.
Gog's flesh and his wounds, these walls rejoice my heart. By his wounds I hope to do well for my part. By Gog's heart the world shall go evil if I do not shift at some old carl's budget I mean for to lift.
By his flesh, nose, ears, and eyes and ears, I will vent to avoid of all cares. He's not a soldier that doth fear any doubt, if that he would bring his purpose about.
Fear that fear lest I shall not be I, for by Gog's wounds I will make some neck and stand awry. If I lose my share, I swear by Gog's heart, then let another take my part.
Yet I hope to come the richest soldier away.
If a man ask ye may hap to say nay.
Let all men get what they can, not to lease, I hope. Wheresoever I go in, each corner I will grope.
What? And ye run into the corner of some pretty maid?
To grope there, good fellow, I will not be afraid.
Wounds, what art thou that with us dost mell? Thou seemst to be a soldier, the truth to tell. Thou seemst to be harnessed, I cannot tell how. I think he came lately from riding some cow. Such a deformed slave did I never see. Ruff, dost thou know him? I pray thee tell me.
No, by my truth, fellow Huff, I never seen him before.
As for me, I care not if I never see him more. Come, let us run his arse against the post.
Ye slaves, I will be with you at the host. Ye slaves, I will teach ye how me ye shall deride.
Here, let him swing them about.
Out of my sight, I can ye not abide. Now, goodman pouch mouth, I am a slave with you. Now have at ye afresh, even now. Mine arse against the post you will run, but I will make ye from that saying to turn.
I beseech ye heartily to be content.
I ensure you by mine honesty no hurt we meant. Beside that again, we do not know what ye are. Ye know that soldiers in their stoutness will declare. Therefore, if we have anything offended, pardon our rudeness and it shall be amended.
Yea, God's pity, begin ye to entreat me? Have at ye once again, by the mass, I will beat thee.
And they fight again.
God's heart, let us kill him. Suffer no longer.
And they draw their swords.
Thou slave, we will see if thou be the stronger.
Strike off his head with one blow, that we be soldiers, God's heart let him know.
Oh, the passion of God, I have done. By mine honesty, I will take your part hereafter verily.
Then content.
Then content. Let us agree.
Shake hands with me. I will shake hands with thee. Ye are full of courtesy, that is the best. And you take great pain, ye are mannerly guest. White masters, do you not know me? The truth to tell me?
No.
Me to tell?
No, trust her not very well.
Very well.
Why, I am Ambidexter, who many soldiers do love.
Gog's heart to have thy company needs we must prove. We must play with both hands with our hostess and host. Play with both hands and scorn the post. Now and then with our captain for many a delay, we will not stick with both hands to play.
The honester man ye may me trust.
Enter Meretrix with a staff on her shoulder.
What? Is there no lads here that have the lust to have a passing troll to help at their need?
God's heart, she is come indeed. What, Mistress Meretrix, by his wounds, welcome to me.
What will you give me? I pray you, let me see.
By his heart she looks for gifts by and by.
What, Master Ruff, I cry you mercy. The last time I was with you, I got a broken head and lay in the street all night for want of a bed.
God's wound, kiss me, my troll so white. In thee I swear is all my delight. If thou shouldest have had a broken head for my sake, I would have made his head to ache.
What, Master Ambidexter, who looked for you?
Oh, Mistress Meretrix, I thought not to see you here now. There is no remedy. At meeting, I must have a kiss.
What, man? I will not stick for that. By guess.
And they kiss.
So now, Gramercy, I pray thee be gone.
Nay, soft, my friend. I mean to have one. Nay, soft, I swear. If you were my brother before I let go, I will have another.
Kiss, and a kiss, and a kiss.
God's heart, the whore would not kiss me yet.
If I be a whore, thou art a knave. Then it is quit.
But hear'st thou, Meretrix, with who this night wilt thou lie?
With him that giveth the most money?
God's heart, I have no money in purse, yet in clout.
Then get thee hence, and pack like a lout.
And you, like a whore.
Exit Huff.
Farewell, like a knave.
God's nails, Mistress Meretrix, now he is gone. A match he shall make straight with me. I'll give thee sixpence to lie one night with thee.
Gog's heart, slave. Dost thou think I am a sixpenny jug? No. Why thee, Jack? I look a little more smug.
I will give her 18 pence to serve me first.
Gramercy's Snuff, thou art not the worst.
By Gog's heart, she were better be hanged to forsake me and take thee.
Were she so? That shall we see.
By Gog's heart, my dagger into her I will thrust.
Ha! Ye boy, you would do it, and ye dost.
Peace, my masters, ye shall not fight. He that draws first, I will him smite.
Gog's wounds, Master Snuff. Are ye so lusty?
Gog's sides, Master Ruff, are you so crusty?
You may happen to see.
Do what thou darest to me.
Here they draw and fight. Here she must lay on and coil them both. The vice must run his way for fear. Snuff fling down his sword and buckler and run his way.
Gog's sides, knaves, seeing to fight ye be so rough, defend yourselves, for I will give you both the duff. I will teach you how ye shall fall out from me. Thou slave, Snuff, no more blows wilt thou bide. To take thy heels a time hast thou spied. Thou villain, seeing Snuff has gone away, a little better I mean thee to pay.
He falleth down, she falleth upon him, and beats him, and taketh away his weapon.
Alas, good Mistress Meretrix, no more. My legs, sides, and arms with beating be sore.
Thou a soldier, and lose thy weapon. Go hence, sir boy, say, a woman hath thee beaten.
Good Mistress Meretrix, my weapon let me have. Take pity on me, mine honesty to save. If it be known in this repulse I sustain, it will rebound to my ignominy and shame.
If thou wilt be a man, and wait upon me, this sword and buckler I will give thee.
I will do all at your commandment. As servant to you, I will be obedient.
Then let me see how before me ye can go. When I speak to you, ye shall do so. Off with your cap at place and at board, forsooth. Mistress Meretrix at every word. In the camp such soldiers there be, one good woman would beat away 2 or 3, while I am sure customers tarry at home, mannerly before, and let us be gone.
And they exit.
And they exit. We'll pause there. Okay, who was expecting that to happen? I think I'll give a little bit of context for the kind of stuff that we've been exploring in the evenings. There's an awful lot of interludes that at some point some young ruffians go over to the dark side and inevitably go and try and pick up a sex worker. I don't think we've come across any ones where the sex worker not only beats all of them into a pulp, but then effectively becomes a dominatrix to one of them who is now her willing slave. Well done, Preston, for that. Tamara, this is a second fight scene for you to play with in this week.
I love it. I love it. Meretrix, the dominatrix.
I mean, she is pretty much, and it's it's the fact that they're talking. I'm not cheap. I'll give you. What is it? Sixpence.
18 pence.
Three sixpence. Yeah.
It's
It's just the sixpence. It's not 3 sixpence.
It's a tussle between the lads, and then she kind of wades in and just beats one of them up, beats the other one up, who then goes, "I'll do anything you want."
Yeah. It works. So it's got bugger all to do with the plot. Just the thing that happens so far.
Very entertaining, though.
Yes.
And it completely pulls the rug out from under your feet, because like the beginning of the play, you think, oh yeah, okay, we're sort of in pre-Tamburlaine territory here. We're sort of a bit of history play, and there's court shenanigans and skullduggery going on, and then all of
the theory of government too.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're in the middle of this amazingly funny interlude. I was quite disappointed though, because the very first line of your speech, or the first couple of lines, there was mention of a snail.
Yes,
And
again.
I thought for a moment there we were going to have another snail fight, and we didn't. But
it is. We should mention, the interlude Thersites, so which we have done, and is fabulous, because it is literally a sword fight between a man versus snail, and it's brilliant. And one of the scenes actually played full stop, which is just really fun. And I think it must be deliberately referencing that. That's no coincidence. That's clearly a very successful play. It's been printed around about the time this play is probably coming out, so people know of it. I'm sure, unless I've got my dating wrong. I will double check that as we go. I mean, it's interesting because Ambidexter comes in and goes, yes, that I'm going to be dealing with the A plot. That's my purpose. I'm going to come in here and undermine the A plot, and then I don't.
I've a feeling that Meretrix translates as being in the same context as meretricians, of worth. So it is maybe making the point that she's quite an expensive commodity. Yeah.
And Meretrix is. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that doubling works later on. Other thoughts about this particular scenette, or in fact the play so far, in terms of changing registers?
It changed register in the verse as well. I mean, that was really interesting, because it's still in verse, but the rhythm isn't half so driving as it was in the court scene.
No, it's a shorter verse line. And I was going, oh good, I'm going to test out, see how the verse works, and then I come in and go, oh no, mine's easy.
I just love that it's again, I mean, we've come across them a lot, but it's just this scene that works on its own. Like, you could literally just do an evening of these interlude scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just take that little sequence there as a standalone, 10-minute piece. By the time we've added a bit of action to it, and have a hell of a lot of fun with it.
But I mean, the thing is, the playwright obviously knows that doing the whole thing in the same verse style is going to be wearing over time. And that gives the permission for the actors in that first scene not to fight that verse structure too much, because it's not there long enough for it to go too far and send us too rhythmically into slumber. So it sort of suits what that scene was about as well, as opposed to this, which is much more direct.
I'm absolutely stunned by this scene. It is so direct and so real.
Mm.
And it's totally not what I expected of something from this period.
To some degree, it's not for me because it is very, this whole scene, apart from the actual the sort of switch, it's very, very sort of mid-Tudor interlude. There's lots of this stuff. A group of ruffians.
I need to read more mid-Tudor interludes.
Mm. I keep saying this.
The switch itself is quite surprising, though. I mean, I did not see that coming at all.
I do love how my character just kind of walks off halfway. Nope.
Yeah, I mean that stage direction. They draw and fight, and Meretrix is talking afterwards. It seems like all of that's actually happening at the same time in the stage direction with that dialogue. It's the vice must run away for fear. So I'm afraid, and that's the thing is, I think Ambidexter's voice should be much more hello. I have a suspicion that he's supposed to be a small boy. It's sort of hinted at that, and that he's much more blue bottle.
I didn't get that feeling. I did get there was one character he reminded me of, but I'm not allowed to mention him.
That's all right then. Then don't. Any other thoughts before we move on? Because A plot and B protagonist is about to meet. Okay, I'll Alan to continue with stage directions.
Enter Ambidexter.
Oh, the passion of God! Be they here still or no? Are they still here? Are they?
They're behind you.
No, well, I'm not coming back on stage then. The answer is no.
No.
Thank you.
Oh.
Durst not abide to see her beat them so. I may say to you, I was in such a fright. Oh, body of me. I see the hair of my head stand upright when I saw her so hard upon them lie. Oh, the passion of God, thought I. She will be with me anon. I made no more ado, but avoided the thrust, and to my legs began for to trust. And fell a-laughing to myself when I was once gone. It is wisdom, quoth I, by the mass, to save one. Then into this place I intended to trudge, thinking to meet Sisamnes, the judge. Oh, behold, where he cometh, I will him meet, and like a gentleman, I mean him to greet.
Enter Sisamnes.
Since that the king's grace's majesty in office did me set, what abundance of wealth to me might I get? Now and then some vantage I achieve, much more yet may I take, but that I fear unto the king that some complaint will make.
Jesu, Master Sisamnes, you are unwise.
Why so? I pray ye, let me acknowledge. What, Master Ambidexter? Is that you? Now, welcome to me, I make God a vow.
Jesu, Master Sisamnes, with me you are well acquainted. By me rulers may be trimly painted. Ye are unwise, if ye not take not time while ye may. If ye will not now, when ye would, ye shall have nay. What is he that of you dare make exclamation of your wrong dealings to make explication? Can you not play with both hands and turn with the wheel?
Believe me, your words draw deep in my mind. In colour-wise, unto this day, to bribes I have inclined. More the same, for to frequent of truth I am now minded. Behold, even now unto me suitors do proceed.
Enter small Hability.
I beseech you here, good master judge, a poor man's cause to tender. Condemn me not in wrongful wise, that never was offender. You know right well, my right it is, I have naught for to give. You take away from me my due, that should my corpse relieve, the commons of you do complain, from them you devocate. With anguish great and grievous words their heart do penetrate, from right you fell unto the wrong, your private gain to win, you violate the simple men, and count it for no sin.
Hold thy tongue, thou prattling knave, and give to me reward. Else in this wise, I tell thee truth, thy tale will not be heard. Ambidexter, let us go hence, and leave the knave alone.
Farewell, small hability, for help now get ye none. Bribes have corrupt him, good laws to pollute.
And they exit.
A naughty man that will not obey the king's constitute. With heavy heart I will return, till God redress my pain.
And he exits. Enter Shame with a trump black.
From among the grisly ghosts I come, from tyrants' testy train, unseemly shame, of sooth I am, procured to make plain the odious facts and shameless deeds that Cambyses king doth use. All piety and virtuous life he doth it clean refuse. Lechery and drunkenness he doth it much frequent, the tiger's kind to imitate, he hath given full consent. He naught esteems his counsel grave, ne virtuous bringing up, but daily still receives the drink of damned vice's cup. He can bide no instruction, he takes so great delight in working of iniquity, for to frequent his spite, as fame doth sound the royal trump of worthy men and trim, so shame doth blow with strained blast the trump of shame on him.
Exit.
And we'll just pause there. Shame acting more as a prologue for the next scene than an epilogue for the last one. So that last scene ended with just a brief demonstration of Sisamnes' corruption. Didn't really go into much detail on it, though, was it? It was like almost immediately, bribe? No? Okay. And then they just leave. It's that sense that the interlude in the middle of that scene was longer than the scene itself.
He's not a very able villain either, because I mean he was talking at the beginning like, oh dear, well I could feather my nest some more, but if I do then or someone might complain to the king. But then like literally 10 seconds later he's just going, no bribe, no decision. And it's like, well, you could have been a bit less obvious about it if you're worried about the king finding out. But he's just like, no, it's all quite simple as far as he's concerned. It's like, yeah, you'd expect him to be plotting a bit more.
Well, it could be my influence because I'm here. It could be Ambidexter. The moment he's there, I push him over the edge.
Wouldn't that make him more complex, though? Wouldn't that make him, if Ambidexter was there, wouldn't that make him more complex rather than less? Because then he'd be, dealing with both hands. He's just very, very simplistic in the way he's being corrupt. He's not trying to cover it up at all.
Other thoughts? Or thoughts about shame? Shame.
Yeah.
So I like to put Game of Thrones references in because Alan doesn't get them.
Neither do I.
Nor me.
Good heavens.
What's going on?
You've got all the people who have never watched Game of Thrones.
Nobody's watched Game of Thrones. Nobody, statistically speaking, in the UK, almost nobody's seen it. It's just only people in the media have seen it and therefore keep telling everyone about it. But nobody actually watches it.
I read the first book and lost the will to live.
Anyway, we're going off topic.
That's true.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
That's the government insulting Channel 4, isn't it?
Shame. Back to shame. It's covered in black, I'm assuming. I think the Trump black.
With the bell.
Infamy.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing that came to mind with me is that sometime in the late 1560s or early 1570s, a guy called Fanshawe in the Exchequer turned down a bribe.
Ooh.
And this was felt to be so remarkable that it was noted.
No comment.
Oh, that's fabulous. Yes.
Yeah.
First and last in that role.
Yeah, I mean, people just could not believe it. They'd come all the way from Yorkshire to bribe him, and he wouldn't take it because the reason he gave was so weird. He said he was employed by the Queen, and he didn't think it was consistent with his employment to take money from anybody else. I mean, they practically died of shock on the plane in the office. It was terrible.
How could he possibly get income from somewhere else?
Oh well, never mind. Never
But
mind.
they did. I mean, they paid for their offices and made their living out of bribes.
Yeah. You know, it was just the done thing. Okay, we will move forward, however. You can relax now, Alan, if you like, unless you want to continue doing the stage directions.
Well, I've no idea when my character comes
We've got a
in.
while. Would you like to continue being stage?
I'm happy continuing doing stage directions. If you
Okay.
May I ask
Yes.
something? I'm sorry.
No.
All of the female characters seem to have been clumped into one person.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that Shame is a feminine character of sorts?
Potentially. There is going to be a question that will come up later on as to precisely how the female characters and the female players within this particular grouping works or doesn't work. If it's assuming that you are always playing female characters and therefore all you're doing is covering, taking off a signifier, but you've essentially got a dress in place or something along those lines, then yes, shame would be, I would have thought. How long has it been since you were last on?
The bit before, the interlude before.
Yeah, you've got enough time, I would have thought, to do a substantial change. So I don't know if it's essential, but if we assume that Shame is just covered in lots of black, it's a massive cloak or something, then you could probably hide a multitude of sins. But it's a really good question. Dan.
I'm wondering if historically as well, in the morality plays and whatnot, if shame is depicted, how is shame depicted actually?
It's really interesting with morality and interludes in terms of the gendering of certain aspects are sometimes it's not always consistent, and there's a lot of interesting questions that I think can be asked about that. But I think that's one for research. I think it's a good point. I haven't come across a shame before, actually.
I don't recall either.
I can't think of a shame.
Then again, I'm not well versed in these plays. I know every man.
Well, there's an outlier. The one everybody knows, but which in many ways has no connection with anything else. Okay, anyway, we will move forward. So, stage direction, Alan.
Enter the king, the lord, Praxaspes and Sisamnes.
My judge, since my departure hence, have you used your judgment right? If faithful steward I you find, the same I will requite.
No doubt your grace shall not once hear that I have done amiss.
I much rejoice to hear so good news as this.
Enter Common's cry, running in, speak this verse, and go out again hastily.
Alas, alas, how are the commons oppressed by that vile judge Sisamnes by name. I do not know how it should be redressed. To amend his life no wit doth he frame. We are undone and thrown out of door. His damnable dealing doth us so torment. At his hand we can find no relief nor succour. God grant him grace for to repent.
And he runs away crying.
What doleful cries be these, my lord, that sound you in my ear? Intelligence, if you can give, into your king declare. To me it seemeth my commons all, they do lament and cry. Out at Sisamnes, judge, most chief, even now standing us by.
Even so, O king, it seemed to me, as you rehearsal made, I doubt the judge culpable be in some respect or trait.
Redoubted king, have no mistrust, no wit your mind dismay. There is not one that can lay me charge or aught against me lay.
Enter Commons complaint with proof and trial.
Commons complaint I represent, with thrall of doleful state, by urgent cause erected forth my grief for to dilate. Unto the king I will prepare my misery to tell, to have relief of this my grief, and fettered feet so fell. Redoubted prince and mighty king, myself I prostrate here, vouchsafe, O king, with me to bear, for this that I appear. With humble suit I pardon crave of your most royal grace, to give me leave my mind to break before you in this place.
Commons complaints, keep nothing back. Fear not thy tale to tell. Whate'er he be within this land that hath not used thee well, as prince's mouth shall sentence give, he shall receive the same. Unfold the secrets of thy breast, for I extinguish blame.
God preserve your royal grace and send you blissful days, that all your deeds might still accord to give to God the praise. My complaint is, O mighty king, against that judge you buy, whose careless deeds gain to receive hath made the commons cry. He, by taking bribes and gifts, the poor he doth oppress, taking relief from infants young, widows and fatherless.
Untruthful traitor and corrupt judge, how likest thou this complaint? Forewarning I to thee did give of this to make restraint. And hast thou done this devilish deed, mine ire for to augment? I sentence give, thou Judist judge, thou shalt thy deed repent.
Oh, puissant prince, it is not so. His complaint I deny.
If it be not so, most mighty king, in place then let me die. Behold that I have brought with me both proof and trial true. They stand even here, and sentence give what by him did ensue.
I proof do him in this appeal. He did the commons wrong, unjustly he with them hath dealt. His greed was so strong, his heart did covet in to get. He cared not which way the poor did lose their due and right, because they want to pay unto him for bribes indeed. This was his wonted use, whereas your grace good laws did make, he did the same abuse.
I trial here to verify what proof doth now unfold, to stand against him in this wrong, as now I dare be bold.
How likest thou this? Thou caitiff vile, canst thou the same deny?
No, noble king, forgive my fact. I yield to thy mercy.
Complaint and proof, redress will I all this your misery. Depart with speed from whence you came, and straight command by me the execution man to come, before my grace with haste.
For to fulfill this your request,
no time we mean to waste.
And exeunt all three.
My lord, before my grace go call Otian, this judge's son, and he shall hear and also see what his father hath done. The father, he shall suffer death, the son, his room succeed, and if that he no better prove, so likewise shall he speed.
As your grace have commandment given, I mean for to fulfill.
And he steps aside and fetches him.
Accursed judge, couldst thou consent to do this cursed ill? according unto thy demand, thou shalt for this thy guilt receive thy death before mine eyes. Thy blood it shall be spilt.
Behold, O king, Sisamnes' son before you doth appear.
Otian, this is my mind. Therefore, to me, come near. Thy father, here for judgment, wrong procured hath his death, and thou, his son, shall him succeed when he hath lost his breath. And if thou dost once offend, as thou seest thy father have, in likewise thou shalt suffer death. No mercy shall thee save.
O mighty king, vouchsafe your grace my father to remit. Forgive his fault. His pardon I do ask of you as yet. Alas, although my father hath your princely heart offended, amends for miss he will now make, and fault shall be amended. Instead of his requested life, pleaseth your grace, take mine. This offer I, as tender child, so duty doth me bind.
Do not entreat my grace no more, for he shall die the death. Where's the execution man? Him to bereave of breath.
Enter execution.
At hand, and if it like your grace, my duty to dispatch, in hope that I, when deed is done, a good reward shall catch.
Dispatch with sword this judge's life, extinguish fear and cares. So done, draw thou his cursed skin straight over both his ears. I will see the office done, and that before mine eyes.
To do the thing my king commands, I give the enterprise.
Otian, my son, the king to death by law hath been condemned, and you in room and office mine his grace's will hath placed. Use justice, therefore, in this case, and yield unto no wrong, lest thou do purchase the like death, ere ever it be long.
O father dear, these words to hear that thou must die by force, meadows my cheeks with still tears. The king hath no remorse. The grievous grief and strained sighs my heart doth break in twain, and I deplore, most woeful child, that I should see you slain. O false and fickle frowning dame, that turneth as the wind, is this the joy in father's age thou me assign'st to find? O doleful day, unhappy hour, that loving child should see his father dear before his face, thus put to death should be. Yet, father, give me blessing thine, and let me once embrace thy comely corpse in folded arms and kiss thy ancient face.
Oh, child, thou makes mine eyes to run, as rivers do by stream. My leave I take of thee, my son. Beware of this, my beam.
Dispatch even now, thou men of death, no longer seem to stay.
Come, Master Sisamnes, come on your way. My office I must pay. Forgive therefore my deed.
I do forgive it thee, my friend. Dispatch therefore with speed.
We're just going to pause there at this moment of high tension. Will Sisamnes survive? I just want to pause there before we go into the home straight for this session. There's, I have to say, I do love when the commons cry, come on and go, alas, alas, how are the commons oppressed? I thought Helen would enjoy that line. And it's interesting. Commons cry and commons complaint are effectively the same person. I don't see.
I did not feel like the same person at all.
Well, one was panicked and the other one had thought about it.
Well, one of them I felt was the lawyer that they'd hired.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
I thought the first one was the distressed client and the second one was his lawyer.
I find it very odd that you would be playing the same person for that, though. The change is so quick.
True.
So that's the first time I've gone, not sure about the doubling on this one.
Yeah.
Not sure of the doubling on that one. But otherwise, yeah, I'd like the idea that, yes, the commons complaint is the lawyer, isn't it? And he's brought proof and trial. So all the, you can go with the proof or we can fight it out. Which do you want to go for?
when he gets put to death, I was so close to just going, well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because like his crime is dealt with in the play very quickly. It's like, oh, I take bribes, there we go, done. And then his downfall, his trial, it's kind of, the scene is 3-4 times as long. It's almost as though, oh, we need to have a character here who does something a bit dodgy so that we can then unfold this, trial and discussion of law and fairness. I don't know. I thought it was interesting because normally, the action's focused on the action, whereas here it's more on the discourse that follows it.
I don't know. There's some action coming up.
Okay.
And it says it's more interested in the aside sometimes. Almost you didn't need to have the scene with him being corrupt at all. He's vaguely says he's going to be corrupt, and you could just jump to him getting done. I think it's interesting that perhaps he and his crimes are not as important as the reaction to his crimes, and that thought seems to be interesting. And of course, this is, we're reflecting what the audience hopefully is thinking as they're watching this. Again, we've got these sort of semi-allegorical figures, the representation of proof, the representation of trial. We only have a certain number of people with real names. Cambyses, Sisamnes, his son Otian. So Otian is presumably played by someone who can be plausibly younger. And therefore, is played by the person who's playing the woman, the female part. So that sort of makes sense that it's a younger person, but also that they can do a quick change in and out of a different attire. So that seems reasonable.
There is an interlude in sometime in the 1650s where they did the execution of Charles I. And unfortunately, it went horribly wrong.
Oh, they chopped his head off.
Yeah, it may not have actually happened. There are historians who say it didn't actually happen. But there is this story that the front row got kind of immersive theatred.
Yeah, I was reading about that the other day. I can't remember where.
But that's horrible. Wait, they what?
They reenacted the death of Charles I very badly, or shall we say, very well.
So
too effective.
Right.
And the actor actually got killed. The actor playing Charles actually died.
I love your laughing there.
Bernard Capp says it didn't happen.
As far as I'm concerned, it did. I'm just going to say that it's a good story. Therefore, it happened.
It's a horrible story.
It's horrible. It's like
it's not the worst. There are others. I mean, the callousness of there's a lot of deaths associated with theatre. That's not the only one.
It's like the thing that happened recently with the guy accidentally getting a real sword, a real knife. Sorry, and I don't think he died, but there was an accident about
health and safety in the workplace. Theatre's not been particularly well renowned for it. Anyway, pulling it back, Alan, you can start preparing to be a small child any moment now. So you can do your warm-ups. I'll take over stage directions for the moment.
Fine.
Because I'm not back on again for a while. Or in fact, this session. So Sisamnes on his knees, executioner standing over him. Stage direction says, smite him in the neck with a sword to signify his death.
Behold, O king, how he doth bleed, being of life bereft.
In this wise, he shall not yet be left. Pull his skin over his ears to make his death more vile. A wretch he was, a cruel thief, my commons to beguile.
Flays him with a false skin.
What child is he of nature's mould, could by the same to see his father's fled in this wise? Oh, how it grieveth me.
Otian, thou seest thy father dead, and thou art in his room. If thou beest proud as he hath been, even thereto shalt thou come.
O king, to me this is a glass. With grief in it I view example, that unto your grace I do not prove untrue.
Otian, convey your father hence to tomb where he shall lie.
And if it please your lordship, it shall be done by and by. Good execution man, for need help me with him away.
I will fulfill, as you to me did say.
And they take him away. So it clearly saying, just help me with the body.
The skin.
Flays him with a false skin. This play has some wonderful stage directions that I find fascinating. It's very interested in the mechanics. Smite him in the neck to signify his death. But they talk about blood, and there's all sorts of questions of the mechanics there. But it's the way that Cambyses does, thou seest and thou, look at him. It's almost, I'm making a point here. Look at your dead father. It's so cruel in many ways.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
Very disturbing scene.
And so this thing of like the stage direction with the flaying him with the false skin is because he's talking about pulling his skin over his ears.
Yeah, it's basically
Skin him.
skinning him. Yeah.
But then the stage direction talks about flaying him with a false skin. So
he's got a fake thing. So they're holding up fake skin.
So that's a direction. Yeah,
that's a note for. There are several
Okay.
stage directions in here which are actually about the mechanics of how you present this,
okay.
which is really interesting.
And actually in the original printed text.
Yes, that's why I wanted to make sure we kept as many original stage directions, because there are more to come which talk about mechanics of how they would have done it or potentially would have done it.
So how would they have made a false skin? Like just from an animal? Or...
Yeah, I assume so.
Yeah,
Pig or
pig skin,
something?
I imagine, because that would look quite.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did in Alien as well. Alien that was built. That's actual meat and stuff from the butchers.
It reeked.
God.
Anyway, we need to finish our thing. So they take the poor boy away, the body away. Son and executioner drags the corpse off stage. Scene continues.
My lord, now that my grace hath seen that finish this deed, to question mine, give tentive ear, and answer make with speed. Have not I done a gracious deed to redress my commons woe?
Yeah, truly, if it please your grace, you have indeed done so. But now, king, in friendly wise, I counsel you in this, certain vices for to leave that in you placed is the vice of drunkenness, O king, which doth you sore infect with other great abuses, which I wish you to detect.
Peace, my lord, what needeth this? Of this I will not hear. To palace now I will return, and there to make good cheer. God, Bacchus, he bestows his gifts. We have good store of wine, and also that the ladies be both passing brave and fine. But stay, I see a lord now come, and eke a valiant knight. Ah, what news, my lord? To see you here, my heart, it doth delight.
So having entirely ignored Praxaspes' entreaty not to get drunk, that's the plan. But enter lord and knight to meet the king.
No news, O king, but of duty come to wait upon your grace.
I thank you, my lord and loving knight. I pray you, with me trace. My lords and knights, I pray ye tell, I will not be offended. Am I worthy of any crime once to be reprehended?
The Persians much praise your grace, but one thing discommend, in that to wine subject you be, wherein you do offend, sith that the might of wine effect doth oft subdue your brain. My counsel is, to please your hearts, from it you would refrain.
No, no, my lord, it is not so. For this of prince they tell, for virtuous proof and princely facts, Cyrus he doth excel. By that his grace by conquest grace the Egyptians did convince, of him report abroad doth pass, to be a worthy prince.
In person of Croesus I answer make, we may not his grace compare in whole respect for to be like Cyrus the king's father, in so much your grace hath yet no child, as Cyrus left behind, even you I mean, Cambyses king, in whom I favour find.
Croesus said well in saying so. But, Praxaspes, tell me why, that to my mouth in such a sort thou should avouch a lie of drunkenness me thus to charge, but thou with speed shalt see whether the I a sober king or else a drunkard be. I know thou hast a blissful babe wherein thou dost delight me to revenge of these thy words. I will go wreak this spite when I the most have tasted wine. My bow it shall be bent at heart of him. Even then to shoot is now my whole intent. And if that I his heart can hit, the king no drunkard is. If heart of his I do not kill, I yield to thee in this. Therefore, Praxaspes, fetch to me thy youngest son with speed. There is no way, I tell thee plain, but I will do this deed.
Redoubted prince, spare my sweet child. He is mine only joy. I trust your grace to infant heart no such thing will employ. If that is mother hear of this, she is so nigh her flight, in clay her corpse will soon be shrined to pass from world's delight.
No more ado, go fetch me him. It shall be as I say, and if that I do speak the word, how dare you once say nay?
I will go fetch him to your grace, but so I trust it shall not be.
For fear of my displeasure, great, go fetch him unto me. Is he gone? Now, by the gods, I will do as I say, my lord. Therefore, fill me with some wine, I heart to thee you pray, for I must drink to make my brain somewhat intoxicate. For when that the wine is in my head, ooh, trimly I can prate.
Here is the cup with filled wine, thereof to take repast.
Give it me to drink it off, and see no wine be waste.
And drinking competition starts. Round one.
Once again, enlarge this cup, or I must taste it still.
And round two.
By the gods, I think of pleasant wine. I cannot take me fill. Now, drink is in. Give me my bow and arrows from Sir Knight. At heart of child I mean to shoot, hoping to cleave it right.
Behold, O king, where he doth come, his infant young in hand.
O mighty king, your grace behest, with sorrow I have scanned and brought my child from mother's knee before you to appear, and she therefore no which doth know that he in place is here.
Set him up my mark to be, I will shoot at his heart.
I beseech your grace not so to do. Set this pretense apart. Farewell, my dear and loving babe, come kiss thy father dear. A grievous sight to me it is to see thee slain even here. Is this the gain now from the king for giving counsel good? Before my face with such despite to spill my son's heart blood. A heavy day to me this is, and mother in like case.
Oh, father, father, wipe your face. I see the tears run from your eye. My mother is at home sewing of a band. Alas, dear father, why do you cry?
Before me as a mark, now let him stand. I will shoot at him my mind to fulfill.
Alas, alas, father, will you me kill? Master King, do not shoot at me. My mother loves me best of all.
And he shoots. Bang.
I have dispatched him. Down doth he fall. That's right. As a line his heart I have hit. Nay, thou shalt see, Praxaspes, stranger news yet. My knight, with speed, his heart cut out, and give it unto me.
It shall be done, O mighty king, with all celerity.
My lord Praxaspes, this had not been, but your tongue must be walking. To the king of correction you must needs be talking.
No correction, my lord, but counsel for the best.
Here's the heart, according to your grace's behest.
Behold, Praxaspes, thy son's own heart. Oh, how well the same was hit. After this wine to do this deed, I thought it very fit. Esteem thou mayest right will thereby. No drunkard is the king that in the midst of all his cups could do this valiant thing. My lord and knight, on me attend, to palace will we go, and leave him here to take his son when we are gone him fro.
With all our hearts we give consent.
Consent to wait upon your grace.
A woeful man, O lord, am I, to see him in this case. My days I deem desires their end. This deed will help me hence to have the blossoms of my field destroyed by violence.
Enter the mother.
Alas, alas, I do hear tell the king hath killed my son. If it be so, woe worth the deed that ever it was done. It is even so, my lord. I see how by him he doth weep. What meant I that from hands of him this child I did not keep? Alas, husband and lord, what did you mean to fetch this child away?
O lady wife, I little thought for to have seen this day.
O blissful babe, O joy of womb, heart's comfort and delight. For counsel give it unto the king, is this thy just requite? O heavy day and doleful time, these mourning tunes to make. With blood-red eyes unto my arms from earth I will thee take, and wrap thee in mine apron white. But O my heavy heart, the spiteful pangs that it sustains would make it in two to part, to death of this my son to see. O heavy mother, now that from thy sweet and sure joy to sorrow so should us bow. What grief and womb did I retain before I did thee see? Yet at the last, when smart was gone, what joy wert thou to me? How tender was I of thy food for to preserve thy state? How stilled I thy tender heart at times early and late? With velvet paps I give thee suck, with issue from my breast, and dance thee upon my knee to bring thee unto rest. Is this the joy of thee I reap? O king of tigers' brood, O tiger's whelp, hast thou the heart to see this child's heart blood? Nature enforceth me, alas, in this wise to deplore, to wring my hands. O well away, that I should see this hour. Thy mother yet will kiss thy lips, silk soft and pleasant white, with wringing hands, lamenting for to see thee in this plight, my lordling dear. Let us go home, our mourning to augment.
My lady dear, with heavy heart to it I do consent. Between us both the child to bear unto our lordly place.
And they exit. It seems clear that this play, and it seems by the doubling, that the young child who doubles as Cupid is a young child.
Mm.
And, you know, they are really, really hammering the horror in here. I mean, that whole scene with the drinking, because that won't be some small cup. It's going to be a loving cups kind of thing, isn't it? It's going to be a drinking game. It's going to take a while for those drinks to be drunk, and the question of how drunk he's going to be and what's going to happen next. That scene is just full of tension, and then they make it worse. Cut out the heart. I mean, it's a horrific scene, which is immediately followed by "Hi, it's me again," which we're not doing today. But they immediately go straight into the comedy as the next scene.
Whoa.
Yes, Ambidexter comes on and says, I've been a while. Have you missed me?" Pretty much the next line.
Passed out yet?
Yeah. Though if we're doing it today, we would have an interval probably at this point, I feel. I mean, that's one hell of a scene. That's just fascinating. Thoughts from the room? We are now into extra time, so thoughts about that scene first, then we'll go into final thoughts.
I think if you had an interval at that point, I would have doubts about what percentage of the audience might come back.
I don't know.
It's pretty bloody sick, isn't it?
It was grim. Totally grim, yeah.
See, but this is why people really need to watch Game of Thrones, because that sort of thing works with the audience. It will, if that is when the interval happens, they will come back because they won't be able to bear leaving it at this.
I stayed for Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Anyone else here stuck in the middle with you with the ear scene?
Yeah. You know, the horror of it all. Yeah, I mean, they it's a beautifully structured scene. You know, in terms of how it delivers those horrors. Because you know, we've gone from one execution, pretty grim. Another child, though the child doesn't die, the child is the witness. This is the reverse ferret. And it's coming from, you know, give me good counsel, which at the beginning the whole thing was about counsel. And then he takes umbrage at the one dissenting voice, who's really careful not to sound like he's arguing. I mean, Tamara is exactly right in that sort of, if it please, I'm going to say this very carefully. Maybe less drink, maybe.
This makes me feel like this play seems like we can easily stage it today and insert figure, tyrannical figure of your whatever state you live in.
Helen, I saw a raised hand.
Yes, I was interested that the mother did not blame the father.
Yeah, because I have a bone to pick with him. Why did he bring the kid? Like, what the?
He should have picked up the kid and run for it.
Yeah.
But is there a sense, in a way, that he doesn't actually think it's going to happen? Because, I mean, because you've had that scene with Otian just beforehand.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can play it.
I don't know, lots of guards, lots of other soldiers, if, you know, the knight and etc. go with him. You know, if he is not presented with the choice. I think that's how I do it. Because there's that really weird bit from the Lord when he's going, my Lord, this had not been, but your tongue must be walking. If you just kept stum.
It's also interesting, isn't it, that they say he's exited, but there isn't actually a stage direction for it.
There's lots of absent stage directions here, and I didn't add additional ones, which later editions do. So there's a lot of implied entrances and exits.
I found it really heartbreaking that the kid didn't know what was going on right at the end.
As a real,
that's how you can tell how young he was, because even with his father crying around him, he had no idea.
Has a real Abraham and Isaac quality to it. And yeah, there's a series of plays that are just basically about one psychopath and his child.
I mean, it's also, if you're gonna, it's almost like modern day Hollywood films. If you're gonna bring a kid like that into a horror film, you use the crap out of them. It's like in I'm going back to Aliens again. I don't know why I'm on a roll with Aliens, but Newt is just there to make everything so much worse.
But Newt doesn't actually Sorry, I'm spoiling this for anyone who hasn't seen it. Newt doesn't meet the same kind of end, though. So it's like
That film.
Not in that film, yeah.
well, no, okay, no, not in that film. I've blanked 3 from my mind.
I know, yeah, it doesn't exist.
Doesn't count. It's fine. Back to the play. So the play overall, it obviously stylistically it's all very distancing. The language is very distancing, and yet it still works. It may feel very old-fashioned, but it does work. I found this very entertaining, as well as gripping. I wouldn't say the ending is entertaining in that sense, but it's so well constructed. Actually, apart from possibly more could have been wrestled out of the judge being corrupt. I think that's the only bit where I feel there's a bit possibly just needed an extra 12 lines, just to fill that in a bit more. But yeah. Final thoughts from the room then. Let's add Valentina.
Yeah, sorry, because you just said something that resonated with me. Because I was thinking the same thing about the judge being corrupt and how it's not been shown that much. But at the end of the day, the prologue says at the beginning, it's a play about how the king is being a bad person. And it takes all this time to actually get to the king doing something bad. And then he does something horrible. But I'd completely forgotten until this scene. I was like, what is going on? Because there's so many little characters coming in and so many personifications and so much other stuff going on that I'd completely forgotten that the baddie was actually the king.
And today definitely we're doing a tragedy. It does say at the top, and I think it's paying off. I think it's definitely paying off dividends on that promise. Any other additional thoughts, Valentina? Is your final thought?
No, I think it's like the way it's structured that you get lulled into some kind of like comedy at the beginning, and then it just shocks you. It's really good.
Tamara, final thought.
Well, I was just going to say, yes, I know with the shame and trial and all of those personifications, it's old-fashioned, but I think it feels to me quite modern. It doesn't. I would just take umbrage to that a little bit for some reason today, because even though you have that odd versing and all of that, there is something so human about this. We come up with all these pop culture references that we kind of go, oh, we know this from there, we've seen this here, and these are, this is our century or the century just gone by. So it feels like a universal human thing, this play, to me at least. And with the judge thing, I had that thought earlier and I completely forgot about it, so I made a note. But it could be, and I'm probably thinking way too far here, but it could be that for a judge to take a bribe, it's a really small thing, but it filters down, and then in the commons it becomes a massive problem. So even in modern times, somebody goes, oh, well, I'm making this up, obviously this isn't happening, but people might listen to lobbyists and get presents because of environmental things that shouldn't happen, because the lobbyist doesn't want that to happen, and then they go, okay, fine, we won't do solar power, and then lots of people die because we're not doing solar power. So that was my thought. Like, it's a small thing for the judge, but then it becomes this big thing.
Excellent. Yes, I do like it when I sometimes put out provocations. People actually come back at me disagreeing. It's always nice. The system works. Alan, final thoughts.
I can't quite work out what the heck it's supposed to be doing.
In what way?
In any way at all. I mean, it seems...
It's a moral play about a bad king. I think it seems very clear to me.
But, you've got the comedy scene with the Three Stooges, which sort of comes in completely randomly and doesn't seem to connect to anything else. I mean, it looks, in some ways, maybe we've been overdosing on green. again, it seems like 2 or 3 ideas in search of a play to fit them in.
I think he's just defined an interlude.
Yeah. It is doing more than one thing. I don't know if it's. I entirely agree. The A and the B plot are vaguely connected, and I think we need to look at the whole thing overall. I don't have a massive objection to that, but that is Alan's final thought. Dan, final thought.
Just a side note on. I think we have a new candidate for the Upstart Crow authorship thing here, in Thomas Preston there with the Tiger's Heart reference there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's. I don't know what you're saying. You're breaking up there.
I have no idea either.
You're breaking up there, Dan.
Sorry,
go on. Say something else, Dan.
Going to Robert Greene. No. I found that when approaching this character, I felt like there was no, I guess, little room for playing the middle ground on it. Just in the way that it was reading and the way the story was unfolding, because clearly to me in this scene, you're rooting for the corrupt judge and his son rather than the king here. So it made it, at first I thought, well, how would one approach this? Do you want to do, maybe it's just a tragedy that this king is, he actually thought he was doing the right thing, but I think it's pretty clear he's a pretty bad guy from the start.
Helen, final thought.
Between Otian and Praxaspes, we've got the beginnings of what could be an effective opposition. I mean, I haven't read it, but if we've got 2 people there who have good reason to try and take the king out.
Yeah. I think that's a very reasonable proposition, and as perhaps we as the audience are hoping that they will.
I'll have to get through the Lord first, though.
Yeah, well, it's also there is no mention of revenge. I think even in all of what the mother said, I don't think there was. Did I miss any revenge? It was just all lamentation, wasn't it? But anyway, as we're talking about the mother, Veronica, having played the mostly female parts, or the younger rather than the youngest parts, your final thoughts?
Well, I wonder how much more tragic it's going to get, because we ended pretty horrifically. So I'm looking forward to that, or am I? What I wanted to say about the mother's bit, that despite the strict rhythm, it's quite raw what she's saying. When she goes as far like talking about like her womb, so I guess it's quite human, quite animal, that those feelings. That's all I've got.
Excellent. Sarah, I think you're last. I don't know if anyone else has been missed out. Final thoughts? Any t-shirt lines?
I did have a t-shirt line, but it seems really inappropriate now, actually. It was something about being intoxicated. I'm like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be going there now. I can't find it. I'll find it later. I'll put it in the Facebook group. Preston shot the dog.
Shot the dog.
Shot the dog. There's a famous anecdote about there's a Clint Eastwood film called In the Line of Fire. John Malkovich plays a psychopathic killer, and there's a line where he goes in to shoot somebody and there's a dog there, and apparently John Malkovich said to the director, well, if you want him to, I think Clint Eastwood was directing it as well as starring in it, and he said to him, if you want him to seem really evil, what about if I just shoot the dog on my way past? The dog's just lying there. And Clint Eastwood looked at him and went, mate, you can't shoot the dog. You can't cross that line. We don't do that in Hollywood films in the mid-90s. And that was the thing that occurred to me, like when when Cambyses murders that child, it's like, oh my God, he actually shot the dog. He went there. He actually crossed that line and he went there. And it's more distressing because this isn't a Tamburlaine play. You know, this isn't kind of like lots of generals marching about, like pillaging and raping and murdering people. And it's not like a big gory bath. We've had like lots of comedy in here. And what I think is so clever is because he's done this halfway through the play, you know, this is not the big denouement that's going to make him, you know, is going to bring about his downfall. We're only halfway through the play. I mean, maybe it will bring about his downfall ultimately, but we're only halfway through the play. And that means, especially with what you were just saying earlier about how Ambidexter's about to come in, that's going to make the comedy, I think, really uncomfortable, because before we were all like, oh, well, yeah, this is fun. This is surprising to find this in the middle of this history play, but oh yeah, this is quite jolly. And now, having just been through that scene, and what Veronica said about the mother's speech as well, I mean, oh God, yeah, that was just so heartbreaking. To put then a comedy scene after that, I just think it's going to make the comedy really uncomfortable, and everyone's going to be really on edge and like, okay, how is this all going to come together? And I think that's really clever, actually. It's...
Well, speaking of the person doing the comedy, and I was deliberately playing the intent, I think intended cues for audience response. Actually, the audience response is actually slightly expected from a vice figure like Ambidexter. Is that, you know, he's walking on and going, tough room, tough crowd, and that, you know, that's a point of pride for a good, you know, stand-up or clown, is that, you know, turn the room around, and it will be interesting to see how that connects with what then follows whatever Ambidexter does.
He's going to have a job.
Yeah, it's a big job. It's a big job. I mean, it's really interesting. You know, it's the same year as Gorboduc is occurring at court. This is where this is performed. It could be a court, it could be anywhere. It's very difficult to tell. You know, and they're very similar plays, and they're also very, very different plays. You know, the language used is different, but the overall sense of what's going on is quite, there feels a lot of parallels. And of course, tonight we're actually doing 2 scenes from Gorboduc, so workshopping that tonight. So that's going to be even more now connecting in my mind of, you know, which were they in conversation as pieces, is an interesting question. But that's it, unless anyone has any pressing final thoughts.
I found the T-shirt line.
T-shirt line, go on.
It's fine if you just take it away out of the context of the play as a T-shirt line. For I must drink to make my brain somewhat intoxicate.
Somewhat. The somewhat is what does it, isn't it? Just somewhat. Yeah. And on that much more cheerful note, we'll say goodbye.